Hello, Simon. Are you there?
I'm here. Yes, are you there?
Yes. So I'm ugly, but I don't mind.
I'm, I'm saying nothing.
It's Tony Gonzalez from Made in Metal, and today we are going to talk to Simon McBride, who recently recorded a new CD called The Fighter. But now I don't know, Simon, if I need to say that you are becoming more famous because you are replacing Steve Morse on Deep Purple. Sorry.
Yeah, it's I'm doing the Deep Purple thing, and it's awesome. It's very cool, and but yeah, it's kind of perfectly timed that my album's coming out at the same time. It wasn't intentional by all means. It was definitely not intentional that we released my album at the same time as the Deep Purple thing, but it's just the way things happen, these days. It's a big thing for me, filling in for Steve Morse. So I'm very excited. It sounds great. We rehearsed last week, so it all sounds very cool. So yeah.
Were you in the recording process when the opportunity appears on the horizon?
For my album,
Yes.
no, my album was done, believe it or not, about 4 years ago. It's because of COVID and everything. My album just got pushed back because I was supposed to release the album, The Fighter, at the start of 2020, but COVID happened, and it was like, yeah, we'll just leave it for a couple of years. So no, my album's been ready and sitting, waiting to go for the last 2 years, 3 years now. So yeah, it's finally coming out. So it is.
If you don't mind, we will go to the fighter, and then we are going to ask you some question about Deep Purple and your career. Okay?
Sure.
Yes. So the fighter is your first CD with ER Music. How did you get in the label?
Yeah, it's my first CD with those guys. It's kind of I got in through playing with Don Airy and Ian Gillan in the past. And I've done a couple of records on with Don, and which were released through Ear Music. So I just kind of get to know the head of the record company a lot, and we get on very well. And it was just it's like any of these things you're done. It's like we were in the bar one night and we had a few beers and we had a chat, and it was like we struck up a deal, and that was it. So, but yeah, it's the same old thing when you're a musician. It's like you gotta it's you gotta talk to people. You gotta know people, and the fact that I got signed to Ear Music was primarily through Don Airy and Ian Gillan and the Deep Purple connection. So, which is great. I ain't complaining. I'm happy.
If we play the first track on the fighter, Don't Dare, maybe some people could consider that you are also a Led Zeppelin fan, aren't you?
Yeah, it is that. Yeah. Yeah. That song, "Don't Dare," is yeah. It's funny you mentioned Zeppelin because when I first wrote it, I just wrote it. I wasn't thinking of Zeppelin or Purple or any band. I just wrote it. But when I listened back to it, I was like, kind of sounds like Zeppelin. So I thought I'm gonna make it more Zeppelin sounding. So all I did, I put this little kind of funny guitar harmony on the guitar riff, which made it even more Zeppelin, and the kind of driving drums and stuff. So yeah, I'm just a music fan, and I grew up years ago in the 80s, and my dad was a massive fan of Zeppelin and Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, all those bands. So they're all kind of influences on me in some shape or form. So
But to the people who don't listen or haven't haven't listened the CD yet, let me tell you in advance that is the only Led Zeppelin touch in the CD.
yeah, you're probably correct. Yeah, probably correct. My album is like it's like a snapshot of my life,
Mm.
of my whole, influence as a player, as a musician. You will find different hints of different artists from the 80s and the 70s and the 90s. It's like tracks like "Show Me How to Love" that hints at the band, the band Yes. Because I was a massive Yes fan as well. And the big clean guitars and the lots of harmonies and stuff. That hints at that. There's other songs that hint at Van Halen. There's other, so it's like a little, all my influences coming out in one CD. Because at the end of the day, we are all just we are all just products of our influences, really, and that's it. So yeah, you will find something, somewhere in the album of somebody else, but that's music. That's the way it works. That's the way the cookie crumbles, as they say over here.
Yes, you mentioned "Show Me How to Love."
Yes.
When I listened that song, I thought so, and I like to ask you: do you consider a bluesman?
I don't know. People can consider me as whatever they want to consider me as. I don't know. Years ago, people class me as more as a blues rock guitarist. But to be honest, I don't really listen to blues music. Really, I listen to more kind of the rockier edge of things. As I said, I grew up in the '80s, so I grew up in that '80s, hard rock thing. So that for me that's me. But I understand all types of rock music comes from the blues anyway, so it filters its way through, to all styles of music. So I'm a fan of all different types: blues, rock, jazz, country, whatever. Would I consider myself a blues man? Not really. No, I'm a rock guitarist. That's what I do.
I ask you this question because maybe the people, you are an Irishman, and the people could think on Rory Gallagher, the last period of Gary Moore,
Yeah.
and they can maybe feel, or if they read and they don't listen to the CD, that you are following the step of those Irishmen who are very famous and very important.
Well, yeah, everyone is always going to make a comparison to people from my home country, especially the likes of Gary and Rory. Everybody compares me to Rory Gallagher. I never really listened to Rory Gallagher. Not that I didn't like him, it was just I was more of along the Gary Moore phase. That was just me. Rory was brilliant, but as I said, I wasn't really too much in the bluesy thing. But you also got to remember, Gary was a big, before he did the blues thing, he was doing a lot of hard rock stuff, and in the earlier days he was doing with Thin Lizzy as well, and then before that he had his the Coliseum stuff, which was fusion. So yeah, people are going to say whatever. I don't know. I people will always just have their own thing, but hopefully when they listen to the album, they'll change their mind a little bit. But if they don't, that's fine. I'm cool.
In my personal opinion, I consider that Gary Moore is one of the best guitar players in the world because he was really good in fusion, in Colosseum. He was really good in hard rock and heavy metal, and he was really good in blues. But for example, when I listen a song of your CD called High Stakes,
Yes.
I think that maybe this song show your influences beyond this old bluesman. What can you tell me about the song High Stake?
Yeah, high stakes kind of that would hint more at the '80s rock thing for me because it has there's a lot of the little chord sequences, especially in the chorus section. I use that. That's kind of very much like what Van Halen would have done all those years ago. Um, High Stakes. It's very catchy chorus. It's very that '80s typical. Big harmonies, that kind of thing, with that kind of vibe going on. It's not blues really. Anyway, it's more in that '80s rock thing. I think anyway. Um, it's me. It's that's who I am. That's what I do. It was a cool. It was a funny song. It came about very quickly. We wrote it. Well, I wrote the guitar riff first of all. I remember we were sitting in the studio and I think it was the first thing I played. I was like, I played that guitar riff, and I was like, what was that? I was like, that was cool. Where's my phone? Somebody record it, you know. So we recorded it, and then 20 minutes later, we had the song done. It was very very cool, and songs like that I like because I know I did them in like 20 minutes, 25 minutes, very quick. I didn't spend hours on it, and what I mean is the actual basic elements of the song was done very quickly. So, yeah, I really like that song. I'm very happy with that song, how it turned out, and I think it's quite cool, so.
Now that you mentioned a catchy song, I think that one that to me was really, really awesome, it was King of the Hill. So the riff, the guitar solo, the drums, another song to play live, and something that I like it about this CD is that I'm sure that you write and recording some songs to play alive. So tell me about King of the Hill. So, and tell me, do you use flanger? Is flanger effects?
Probably. I can't remember. I use a an Octavia, I think, on the solo. Uh, there's various effects on. There's chorus, there's delays, and I think there is a flanger. I have an old Hartman flanger, which is very rare. Big pedal, which is great. So I use that a lot of the time. But yeah, King of the Hill, it's that kind of fast shuffle. And I remember when we listened to the record, I realized I didn't have like some sort of shuffle going on in there, and so I thought, and I'm always against doing fast shuffles because it reminds me of the kind of fast blues stuff. But I tried a few things and then eventually come up with that riff, which reminded me of again of 80s rock guitar players, that kind of real fast. There's different things going on in it. Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that we recorded it so that we can play live. That was the idea. We didn't want to, overload the record with lots of instruments and lots of overdubs because when I play live, there's only three of us. It's a three-piece band. It's bass, drums, and guitar, and it's like, having a song with lots of keyboards and backing vocals and rhythm guitars, you can't recreate that live, So that was kind of the idea with the whole record, to try to make it as playable live as possible, with just the three of us. Some songs you can't. Sometimes you have to add overdubs and stuff like that, just to make it sound better. But that was the whole plan, really, from the start, was just to make an album where, we can play it live and it not sound shit, basically, So, but yeah, High Stakes, or no, King of the Hill was it's kind of a very aggressive song. The chorus, the lyrics is basically quite aggressive. It's about, I'll not go into too much detail about the lyrics, but it's basically about not very intelligent people who have lots of muscle and, in small towns, so that kind of a thing. So, but yeah, yeah, it's cool.
Yes, you told me before that this CD is you. So, and listen to this CD, I can imagine that you don't reject pop music even when there isn't a pop song in the recording. Is that right?
Pop music is, as I said, I like all types of music. So, I'm open to, I'm a very open book when it comes to music. I'm not afraid to try different elements of stuff. I listen to the radio, just the pop stuff, because sometimes you can get influences from there too. And sometimes that's where you get a lot of the if you want to create like catchy choruses, hook lines and stuff, the best place to listen is pop music because it's very simple. Pop music is simple, and that's why it appeals to the masses. So I try to, I take from everywhere, any type of music. So there's no pop songs on my record because I'm not really a pop artist. I'm a rock artist, and that's what's close to my heart, and that's what I will always do. I've played pop stuff in the past with various other artists and stuff, and I've played R&B, I've played soul, I've played heavy metal, blues. I've done it all. So yeah, it's there will be little bits of pieces of other influences creeping in there.
I'm sure that in these interviews, most of the people ask you about Deep Purple, Don Airy, and then, but I was reading and your story with the family, the Purple family was came before. For example, I think when you replaced Mickey Moody on a Snake Charmer, so you were part of the Purple family before this tour. Tell me, do you remember how did you feel replacing Mickey Moody?
Um, well, when they called me, it was Neil. It was Neil Murray called me up, asked me what I did. And to be honest, I didn't know anything about Snake Charmer. I didn't know who they were or what it was. And he said, Mickey was leaving the band or whatever, or had left the band. So it was, I was like, yeah, this will be very cool. Mickey's a great player, great musician, and so yeah, it was, and Neil was telling me who was in the band. There was Harry, there was Chris, Adam, and Laurie Wesfield and stuff. So, um, yeah, I was like, yeah, okay. Our first task was to do an album, so we got together, did some stuff, and it was great fun. That band, it's a great band. Great guys and stuff. So I really enjoyed that doing the Snake Charmer thing. But yeah, the problem with Snake Charmer is because there's six musicians doing six different things all at once. It's hard to get all of us together at once. So it was always very hard to arrange. But it was a great band. So yeah, it was good.
Let me tell you that I remember that when Vivian Campbell was in Dio, the band, he changed a lot as a guitar player. Now in Def Leppard, maybe not, it's not so brilliant, but he's a brilliant guitar player, of course. So when you replace Vivian Campbell in Sweet Savage, so and you need to play his solos or riff, did you think that it was something difficult to do?
Thing I was 16, so it was a long time ago, and I was right in the middle of that shred world, like Paul Gilbert, Vi, all those 80s, 90s, shred guitar player. So I could do all that stuff when I was 16. So doing Vivian's parts, yes, some of it was challenging, but some of it was fine. It's every guitarist that you're going to copy, they have their own little things that they do. So it's always challenging, no matter if it's a simple part or a really hard part. It's always challenging because it's a different thing. It's like now when I do the Deep Purple stuff, if I play some of Richie's old stuff, some of the simple stuff, it's difficult because it's the way he plays. It's slightly different, slightly quirky or whatever. And same with Steve Morse. And so every player has their own little thing. So that's the main challenges I find with most, playing other people's parts. But to be honest, with Sweet Savage and even through into the Deep Purple stuff, it's like I kind of do my own thing a lot of the time. I be respectful to what's there, but there's a time and place where I can then be myself, and play my own things, which is it's better for me, and because I don't want to be, if you want to hear Richie Blackmore, go listen to Richie Blackmore. That's, or if you want to hear Vivian Campbell, go listen to Viv. They're still playing, they're great players. So yeah, that's kind of my attitude with it.
Now that you mentioned Richie Blackmore, so you were playing Deep Purple songs previously with Ian Gillan and Don Airy. So, and my question is, it's easy to sound like Deep Purple with PRS guitar, or you need to change to other guitar brand or model?
No, I use my own guitar. I use PRS. I played PRS guitars for 25 years. Lots of people say to me, "Will I play a Strat like Richie, or will I play a Music Man?" I go, it's a lump of wood. It's a piece of wood. That's what it is. The guitar doesn't define the musician. The musician, defines the guitar basically. That's the way it works. Uh, you know, my guitar, I can get my sound that I want. I I could get a Strat, right? I could get a black and white Strat, and plug into a Marshall 100 watt, and I'll still sound like me. Right? I won't sound like Richie. So it's kind of there's a lot of people say, "Yeah, I should play a Strat," and I go, "Well, no, because I still will sound like me because we all have an inbuilt, I have an inbuilt guitar sound in here
Mm.
for what I like, and I will try and get that same guitar sound out of everything, whether it's a Marshall or a Fender or a PRS, whatever. It's so yeah, it's I'd like to sound like Richie sometimes, but no, I don't. I can't. I just sound like me. So that's the way it goes.
Yes. So the Deep Purple tour is just beginning in a few days.
Yep.
So, but what are your plans when this tour finished? Are you going to go on tour with your band?
I don't know yet, because I have no shows. Well, I have a couple of odd shows planned in August and September with my own thing, but it's like one-offs, like festivals and stuff. But um, I never really planned anything for this year because of COVID reasons and so many bands being out on the road. It's just too many. So it was like in my when I spoke to the record company, we decided we would maybe leave touring, till 2023. So, but now all this has happened. I'm like, okay, maybe I should try and do some stuff. So I don't know. We will see. We'll see. The problem is, it's because it's 2022. As I said, there's so many bands on the road. It's oversaturated with music at the minute. Everybody's out touring. So we'll see. But that is the intention. Is to tour my own thing at some point.
Yes, it's perfectly understood. So
Yep.
I hope to see you in Spain uh, in Deep Purple or in your own band. I don't mind. I would like to enjoy your sound because what you say about Richie Blackmore, that if you play a Richie Blackmore song, you sound like yourself, is the same that Paul Gilbert, that you mentioned before,
Yep.
say each guitar player in this world has something that is different than the rest.
Yep.
And I would like to see this different, Simon.
Well, yeah. Come to one of the shows and you'll see it.
Yes. So thank you very much for your time. I hope to see you so soon in person.
Yep. No
If I have
problem.
the opportunity to meet you in person, it will be really great.
Cool. No problem, man. Well, thanks for having me.
Yes. So bye bye.
All right. Bye bye, man. Cheers.